So, remember when New Zealand had real retail stores? When Georgie Pie was king, Homestead Chicken ruled the suburbs, and every place had a food town that smelt like bread rolls and carpet cleaner. Those golden arches may have survived, but a whole bunch of Kiwi classics have vanished, leaving only memories, old wrappers, and that one blurry photo from your auntie's photo album from 1996. So today we're taking a nostalgic deep dive into some of New Zealand's lost retail outlets and forgotten fun times. So sit back, grab yourself a Jonah Lomu mega feast, and let's get into it, eh?
Come on now, you're all make the mad with you.
Ah, yes, Hogs Breath Café, that mysterious Aussie import that somehow became part of New Zealand's suburban dining scene, sitting somewhere between family restaurant and gay western saloon fever dream. If you grew up in the 90s or early 2000s, you'll totally remember it. The neon pink logo, the walls plastered with random memorabilia, the smell of steak, garlic butter, and links. It was the place you'd go for dinner dates, birthdays, graduation dinners, or to load up before that night of heavy drinking on Courtney Place. And at the heart of it, the 18-hour slow-roasted prime rib and the legendary curly fries.
Oh yeah, legendary curly fries, curly fries.
Because back then, curly fries were basically magic. We'd never seen potatoes do that before. So Hogs Breath started across the ditch in 1989, and by the late 90s, Hogs Breath was booming in Australia, eventually galloping its way across to New Zealand, with franchises in Wellington, Hamilton, and a few others around the country. But like many trends, the sizzle didn't last forever, and by the mid-2010s, things started to go a bit stale. Changing dining habits hit hard. New Zealanders were moving towards quick, affordable bites, not hour-long sit-downs. Rents were going up and wages were too. And suddenly, that quirky pink pig on a sign wasn't pulling in the crowds it used to. And in 2015, the New Zealand company behind the Wellington store officially folded. And one by one, the franchises closed their doors. And just like that, Hogs Breath Café quietly left the country, leaving behind nothing but old menus, curly fry cravings, and one or two dusty neon pigs hiding in someone's garage. But still, for many of us, Hogs Breath Café remains a core memory, a taste of a simpler time, and honestly, if someone reopened one today, I'd probably still go. So folks, have you ever heard of a theme park in West Auckland where you could ride bumper boats, feed the lions, and hang out with a cartoon dog? No? Well, we're talking about the famous Footrot Flats Fun Park. It started its life back in 1982 in West Auckland as the theme park called Leisureland, and in 1984 it rebranded itself with the hugely popular comic Footrot Flats by Murray Ball. Picture this, you're 10 years old and your parents reluctantly say yes to a day trip out west. You step into a place plastered with sheepdogs, cartoons, the smell of greasy chips and milkshakes, the roar of a roller coaster, and sky chickens screaming overhead. And between 1982 and 1989, then you blinked and it was gone. But why did this footy fun park fade away? Being so far away from the main motorway drag meant fewer drive-bys. It didn't help that in 1987 the stock market crash hit New Zealand pretty hard. Council rates were going up, so was the rent, at one of the worst possible times. And adding big ticket attractions like animals in a zoo didn't really help them much. In other words, imagine if you bought a lawn mowing business and then you decided to also sell tractors, donkeys, hot chips, and circus acts all in your backyard. Sounds fun. Yeah, totally. Profitable? Not so much. It was like an acid-fueled Disneyland. So, although it had its fans, the park closed its gates. Homestead Chicken, the chain that made Kiwis realise that fried chicken could be more than just a bucket and a wet nap. Alright, so imagine this. It's the late 1970s, disco is bumping on the radio, your hair is questionable, and fast food is starting to take over the country. Enter Homestead Chicken, a homegrown rival to the American imports. Homestead Chicken wasn't just about feeding people. Oh no, my sweet viewer. It was about the experience. It had striped awnings, bright interior lights, uniformed staff calling out your orders, and it screamed family fine dining. And dine we did. Aside from the standard fried chicken, they had sides that were basically treasures in a bucket, and a menu that whispered,
Go on, you deserve this.
The locals loved it, and it makes sense. Homestead Chicken offered something different from the typical fast food fare. You didn't just grab a nugget and run. You got a full flavoured feast that made you feel like you scoffed down a
Succulent Chinese meal.
But sadly, nothing lasts forever. And by the late 1980s, Homestead started to feel the squeeze. Global competition was heating up, with KFC spreading its wings, McDonald's was nipping at its heels, and even takeaway pizza and fish and chip shops were starting to eat into the market. Operational costs were rising, people wanted quicker, cheaper, simpler, and the novel of Homestead began to feel a little bit old-fashioned. In 1989, Homestead Chicken went into receivership. Fantasyland, the place where your imagination didn't just run wild, it took the train, paddled the lake, climbed the castle turrets, and never looked back. If you grew up in New Zealand in the Hawke's Bay area during the 1970s or 1980s, you'll remember Sunday mornings with the family packed into the car, zinc on your nose, lunchbox ready, head into Windsor Park for a day of pure magic. Fantasyland wasn't Disneyland, because it didn't need to be. Its charm was small town, local, completely immersive fun. There was a miniature railway that chugged through the grounds, lakes with canoes to paddle in, picnic areas shaded by trees, and a storybook castle that made every kid feel like a knight or a princess for the day, with the kind of rides that made your parents nervously sip their coffee, all while secretly wishing you'd topple off into the water. Fantasyland opened its doors in 1968, conceived to give the Hawke's Bay region a proper amusement park. It was active between the 1970s and 1980s, all the way up to the 1990s.
Why was Fantasyland so beloved?
Well, it had that magical trifecta: accessibility, imagination, and just enough thrills. Families didn't need to fly overseas to feel like they were in a storybook. You could smash someone's mum 1 minute in the bumper boats, ride the miniature train the next, and spend the afternoon conquering the tiny castle, all in your local park. School trips, birthday parties, summer afternoons, it all became part of the generation's childhood DNA. But sadly, time moves on, as it always does. And by the late 1990s, the site transformed into Splash Planet, with water slides and wave pools, shifting from the storybook fantasy to lame summer splash zone. The structures were still there, but the feeling was kinda different. As one Reddit user reminisced,
Fuck Splash Planet. Fuck it straight to hell. Not my Fantasyland.
but as the council concluded, the shift was inevitable. Maintenance costs, safety regulations, and changing leisure expectations all demanded evolution. And as they said, the magic didn't vanish, it just changed form. But what do all these places have in common? Well, they're gone, but they're not forgotten. They shaped our weekends, our birthdays, our first jobs, our first dates. We laugh about them now, and we reminisce, and sometimes we even miss them a little bit. So here's my challenge to you. Why don't you share some of your favourite memories from your childhood in the comment section down below? Let me know what chain you remember fondly. Was it the meal? Was it the thrill? Let's keep those stories alive, eh? And don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button down below, and join me while we take more trips into Kiwi culture, nostalgia, and explore all the things that make us, us. So keep watching, take care of yourselves, and say hello to your mum for me.